Managers perform the management process. This is also known as the four functions of management, or you may even see it called the four management functions. And I've got those listed here. Those are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Planning is defined as setting goals and deciding how to achieve those goals for our organization. Organizing is defined as arranging tasks, people, and other resources to be able to accomplish the work that needs to be done. Now, leading is defined as motivating, directing, and otherwise influencing people to work hard to achieve the organization's goals. And the last function of management is that of controlling. Controlling is defined as monitoring performance, comparing that performance with our goals that we created, and taking corrective action as needed to be able to meet those goals, making changes that are needed. And controlling is sometimes kind of like that forgotten or not as important function, but it's very, very important. If we're not monitoring and measuring our performance, how do we know if we're reaching our goals? So throughout this lesson, we're going to look at the management functions. We're going to focus on planning. And planning is important because it establishes what an organization is going to be doing. So what is planning? Planning involves defining our organization's goals, establishing some type of overall strategy for achieving those goals that we defined, and then developing plans for organizational work activities so that we can, you guessed it, meet those organizational goals. The term planning, as used in a lot of areas, is sometimes referred to as formal planning. Well, why do managers even plan? Well, planning serves a number of significant purposes. Planning gives direction to managers and non-managers within the organization. Planning also reduces the amount of uncertainty that exists in the organization. Another thing that planning does is it minimizes waste and redundancy. Planning establishes goals or standards that are used in controlling. Although organizations that use formal planning do not always outperform those who do not plan, most evidence suggests that positive relationships exist between planning and an organization's performance. Effective planning and implementation play a greater part in high performance than does the amount of planning done. Lots of studies have shown that when formal planning has not led to higher performance, that external environment is often going to be the reason. There are several different types of plan. Planning is often called the primary management function because it establishes the basis for all other management functions. Planning involves two important elements: goals and, of course, the plans. Plans are documents that outline how goals are going to be met. They can be described by their breadth, their time frame, the specificity, and the frequency of use. Now, let's talk about strategic versus operational. So strategic plans are those long-term plans, and they are plans that apply to the entire organization. They establish the organization's overall goals, and they seek to position the organization in terms of its environment. Now, the operational plans are those short-term goals, and these are plans that specify the details of how the overall goals are going to be achieved. We also have short-term goals or short-term plans versus long-term plans. Now, here we're looking at these short-term plans are going to be plans that cover about a year or even less. Within this span, we have intermediate term plans, and these cover anywhere from like 1 to 5 years. And of course, long-term plans are those plans that have a time frame that goes beyond that 5-year mark. We also have specific versus directional plans. Specific plans are going to be those plans that are clearly defined and they leave no room for any type of interpretation. Now, directional plans are kind of flexible plans that are set out to give us some general guidelines. We have single use versus standing plans as well. Here we're talking about the frequency of use. A single use plan is a one-time plan specifically designed to meet the needs of a very unique situation. Whereas standing plans, those are those ongoing plans that provide guidance for activities that are performed repeatedly. Objectives are known as the foundation of planning. Objectives are just simply goals. We use this term interchangeably, and they refer to desired outcomes for individuals, groups, or even the entire organization. We have a realm here within our objectives where we have stated versus real objectives. Now, stated objectives are just those official statements of what the organization says and what it wants the public to believe. Real objectives are what an organization actually pursues as defined by the actions of its members. Stated and real objectives can differ, so managers need to keep that in mind and understand that. Now, traditional objective setting is an approach to setting objectives in which objectives are set at the top level of the organization and then they're broken down into sub-goals for each of the lower levels of the organization. Traditional goal setting assumes that top managers know what's best because of their ability to see the big picture, and employees are to work to meet the goals for their particular area of responsibility within the organization. This traditional approach requires that goals must be made much more specific as they flow down to the lower levels of the organization. In striving to achieve specificity, objectives sometimes lose their clarity and their unity with goals that are set at a higher level in the organization. When the hierarchy of organizational goals is clearly defined, it forms an integrated means to an end chain. This is an integrated network of goals in which the accomplishments of goals at one level serves as the means for achieving the goals or ends at the next level. One of my favorite areas when it comes to objectives is management by objectives, or MBO. MBO is just a process of setting mutually agreed upon goals and using those goals that you set with your employees to evaluate the employee's performance. Studies of actual management by objective programs confirm that management by objectives can increase employee performance and organizational productivity. However, top management commitment and involvement are important contributions to the success of an MBO program. When you're using management by objectives, you're working with your employees, and they have clear understanding of what's expected of them and how to achieve goals, and making sure that those goals are measurable so that when it comes time for the next review, there are no surprises and the employee knows what they need to do and how to get there to achieve those objectives. Of course, there's always going to be issues with every phase or every function of management, and here we'll talk about how managers can plan effectively in dynamic environments, as well as we'll address the concept of environmental scanning. Now, when it comes to environmental scanning, a manager's analysis of the external environment may be improved by this use of environmental scanning, which involves screening information and looking and being able to detect emerging trends. Competitive intelligence is the process of gathering information about its competitors that allow us as managers to be able to anticipate the actions that our competitors may be taking. Competitive intelligence is not corporate espionage. Don't get those mixed up. Much of our competitor-related information is publicly available. Purchasing access to databases as well as searches on the internet, well, they can provide us some very key information so that we are able to get that competitive intelligence. Now, global information can be garnered through subscriptions to news services. There are a lot of different environmental elements and examples of where you might locate information about these elements. Social media is becoming an important source of competitive intelligence. Sites like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter provide a wealth of information about consumer opinions, as well as consumer buying patterns and what our competitors are doing. Now, virtual reality is listed here as well as a trending issue, and it refers to a three-dimensional interactive computer-generated experience that takes place in a simulated environment. Virtual reality tools can help with things in our organization, such as facility design, even designing the products or providing the services that we're going to be doing as an organization. VR can also host other planning issues that require modeling. Virtual reality has also been utilized in financial planning and other collaborative projects. So here in the business world, yes, we can use virtual reality for our benefits within an organization. We just have to understand it and what applications it can have to our specific organizations, and then manage that as effective managers. Once again, just understand that as managers, we perform 4 management functions known as the management process. That's planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Make sure you understand those 4 functions and how to successfully implement those functions as a manager. And this requires other research, and of course I'll probably provide some additional videos to go over each of these here in our management series. I hope you found this information helpful and that you want to go out and find out some more information on your own. Take care, everyone.